Oh, did you already take the picture? All right. So bright in here. Wow, we already got 3 people back on. You guys are awesome. Okay. All right, who is on that sent an email so we can...
Italian pie, I got funded.
Nice. I love it. Dark Waters Mags. And we're back. Jean's back. Approved and funded same day.
Wow.
Boom. Now, is that on PPP or EIDL?
Either way, it's awesome.
Yeah, either way. Maybe the banks are picking it up. Okay, so is there anybody on that...
No, I think we got all their questions.
Why is the lighting so off?
No, it's not. You look good.
I look good? Okay.
That's what you look like.
Don't call it a comeback, DC. I love it. PPP 10 days later, still waiting on the bank processing. Wow, man. Whew. That's just frustrating.
All right, we're going to be rapid firing these last 40 emails off.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, mostly for my sake, in the sense that I sometimes want to be too thorough, is, what are we doing here? Clock, stopwatch, timer?
Yeah.
So if we do 2 minutes, will it just reset, or I got to do 2 minutes every single time?
No, it'll just, I think it just resets. You just hit.
Okay, we'll go 2 minutes on the clock, please. All right, hey, thanks for coming back. Thanks for the thumbs up. For those that sent emails, this is for you. Okay, just so you know, if you send us an email, it's 8 p.m. and so we're coming back because I want to hit all the emails that we can. What we're going to do, and actually what we'll do from now on, is thank you, the Italian Pie. I appreciate that. I really do. I think what we'll do from now on is we'll just go with our 2-minute timers. That way we can just get on to the next one and on to the next one. You know what? We got 20 people here. When I went live last Monday, I was like, man, I wonder if like 20 people will come. So I'm happy. Because we're doing this because we're trying to help people and we're loving it, and it sure has been fun. Okay. I'm ready. Let's go. Here we go.
This is from Tony. Thanks for explaining the 7200, but I do have another question. So after I submit form with checkbox second quarter for credit calculation from 3/13 to 3/31, most will have payroll in April prior to receiving PPP funds. Need to walk through this filing? Is it another 2-quarter checkbox with same first quarter 941 totals and calculation credits from 4/1 to PPP date?
So I think I understand the question. You will submit first quarter only. You'll check box number the second quarter, send that puppy in, and then what I'm just telling my own clients is when you get those dollars back from your first one, then you submit the next one, mark it second quarter. They're not going to question it because you can actually submit a 7200 like all the time. You can submit multiple, so there's not going to be any questions about it. What they're asking though is that you keep first quarter all on one report and not mix it into the second quarter, because these are by quarter. But once you hit second quarter, like technically, you can do multiple. So great question on that. I think that, yep, we're good there. Just do one at a time.
All right, the next one's from Fred. I found a bank Thursday, April 9th that doesn't require an existing relationship. I answered their preliminary online application and am in queue to receive an email in the next 24 to 48 hours to fill out their PPP online application. As of Easter Sunday morning, I still haven't heard from them. In my request yesterday, their online preliminary question asked if I had an existing application for a PPP loan, to which I answered yes. I hope I can apply for a second PPP at this bank if Chase does not have a workaround.
Yeah, you know, I would say, Fred, if they reach out to you on it, just tell them you can withdraw from Chase if they can move, you know, quick. That way you don't lose, you know, your place in line. And let's see, based on what you did, I'm assuming you probably got into Chase over a week ago. So yeah, let us know how that works out.
All right, the next one is from Sakira. I'm a home-based family child care provider, sole proprietor. I had applied for PPP to Chase Bank in Fremont, California on 4/8. I just received a confirmation that they have received my application but have not heard anything back from them since then. I have heard that PPP fund will be getting exhausted soon. What can I do to make sure my application gets through? I called them several times but have not got any leads so far.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think that these banks that have taken the application, and I think you said that they just received a confirmation that they received it. I think that probably puts you in a safe position from the standpoint of these banks know that they're going to have to get after this. I would assume if they weren't going to do something, they would have already turned you away because they've done that with other clients. What you might do is, I mean, I know that it's kind of a workaround, but you know, get creative on who you're contacting at Chase versus just the coronavirus. Maybe go into one of the locations where it's where you talk to somebody live, and see if they have a different phone number, is my point, or to a manager. You know, when you're on the phone, just say, I'm desperate to get this money. What is it that can you do to help? You know, it's been this long. And, you know, for me, I'm just not very controversial. So for me, I don't get mad at people. I may get mad on a video on behalf, or I may get mad on behalf of a client with somebody, but, you know, I would just be relentless and just follow up and with emails, but maybe not just the main phone number, try and get somebody that can get you another phone number, then get another phone number, get another phone number. Chase is a big bank, and I'm sure you'll hear, well, you'll just have to talk to such and such. It's like, well, I have talked to them. Who else could I talk to? So I'd say you just keep trying to find that back door to whoever you need to be, and finally someone's gonna be like, man, this person's just calling. So email, call, document everything, so at least you're showing, excuse me, that you are following up on it to show you got it in at that time. So
All right.
Good luck. Let us know how it happened. Let us know how it works out.
This is from Dave.
Hey, Julio.
Another
Listen, hang on. Julio, is Kenda on too? Or Julio, email us your size. I always say this at the end of my videos. You've never met a CPA quite like me, but I made up shirts for fellow CPAs. I'd like to send you one. Never met a CPA quite like JJ from Florida. And then on the side, I've got a hashtag JJ the CPA. So love to send this to you, Julio, who's also, his wife's Amanda. Mm-hmm. And we'll send one to Kenda as well. So thank you, Julio. Hopefully you caught that. What's the next question?
This is from Dave. Another CPA on YouTube points out for a sole proprietor with no employees, the interim final says or 1099. He says if you read the law literally, you can use 1099, which would be gross, and don't have to use net from Schedule C for qualifying PPP. For forgiveness, may have to document separately. I read it the same way, but banks keep saying they are getting different rules from the SBA, but cannot find anything online about different SBA rules versus the law.
Yeah, so on that, I mean, if who's reading it literally? Is it the CPA?
Another CPA on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah, I get it. It does indicate, I think, that when you're talking about the 1099s, that's for the independent contractor who's not filing on Schedule C. So if you have a Schedule C, you're now a sole proprietor. So you're filing a Schedule C, that's based on the net. Now I'll just tell you this right now. There are banks that you're just handing in a 1099, they're basing it on that. The problem is that it is supposed to be the net for a sole proprietor. So it is that the bank can accept it that way, and the bank may go ahead and accept it. When you get to the forgiveness part, the thing that we want to remember, and don't get me wrong, I mean, if you submit what you have and the bank processes it and puts it through, you still will potentially be in a position where you're going to have to pay it back. So the reason I know that it's not the case is that there's lots of businesses that, even if they're a sole proprietor and they're getting, 1099s, and it's like $2 million, $1 million. There's no way that that's what it is. It's just not. So I understand that when you literally read it, but when you literally read it, there's all the different categories and what they're going to look at as your tax return. And the thing is that, at the end, you have to meet with the bank examiner. There's no way around it. You can't send a representative, your CPA, or an attorney. It's you. And they're going to say, how did you determine this? Now, would you be in trouble? Maybe not, but they might say, you borrowed this much and you shouldn't have. It's not that you don't get loan forgiveness. Like, we need the money back right now. You took it under, in essence, false pretenses. Now, if you are someone that is an independent contractor, you don't have any expenses, then it's based on your 1099, there you go. So it would just depend. And I've got another video that had kind of hinted at the fact of the matter is you don't have to take expenses. Now, your taxes may be higher, but I think what it comes down to is you want to file what is consistent. So definitely not saying the individual's wrong. It's just that the bank may do it, yes, by the letter of the law, but it also states a number of other things as well. It doesn't just state that.
This question's from Lynn. This is Lynn. I wrote to you regarding my ex-CPA who is holding my 941 payroll taxes hostages. Thank you for your reply yesterday. I'm writing you back for your opinion and advice on my dilemma, as you seem like a really good and smart accountant. 2 weeks ago, I emailed him requesting my 941 and 940 payroll taxes to apply for PPP and explained why I needed it. He demanded to be paid before he would send anything. My questions to you are, is there a statute of limitations to how long one needs to send out bills? Can he do this, and is it common? Isn't there some kind of ethic law that he can't do this? What do you think? Am I at a loss and have to pay him? Not sure what to do.
So this is Lynn, right?
Uh-huh.
Lynn, why don't you just email me back and give me that CPA's name and number, and I will give them a call. And what a CPA can do is say, well, I'm not going to file this, excuse me, with the IRS, but it had to have already been filed. When someone's doing payroll records, payroll forms, they do have a fiduciary duty to file on time. What they can do is withdraw, but if they've prepared it and they've submitted it, then they need to send it to you. And payroll is in a different category than income tax, in my opinion. And so I'll just give that CPA a call, and if anything, maybe they're just trying to avoid, some work. I don't know what it is, that you owe them. Maybe they can send it directly to the bank, but that CPA is going to get sued. I'll let them know that, not for me, of course, but what they're now doing is they're now causing financial harm to you outside of the fact that you don't owe the fees. And so if they stick to that, then unfortunately I would recommend that you take it up with the state accountancy board, because it's quite shameful that individual is holding it back. So happy to give them a call. May not get anywhere, but I'll give them a holler and just let them know that I think that they need to do it. And from one fellow CPA to another, probably need to make an exception, provide the one thing. I'm sure they're going to tell me a whole story, which I'm not interested in hearing per se. And I've never recommended somebody report another CPA ever, because my grandfather is a CPA, and I look at fellow CPAs with respect, but you have to do the respectful thing. And I think that if you got an attorney, the attorney letting that CPA know that they're going to contact the accountancy board because they're not turning over records, even if that CPA thinks they're in the right, they will then turn those over. It doesn't help you quick enough. And then the other aspect of it is maybe you can make a payment in good faith, or maybe out of some of the funds that you're getting, you can indicate that you're able to pay, maybe set up a payment plan. So anyways, I'm just going to call the person calmly and just remind them and send them on their way. Or if you have their email address, I could send them an email, but quite frankly, I'd just rather call them. I think it's more powerful. So send me their name and number. I'll give them a holler, him or her.
This is from Brian, who is an accountant with Graves Accounting and Consulting
All right,
Services.
thank you so much.
Our staff has been following you on YouTube. Cannot thank
Thank
you
you.
enough for your detailed analysis of
Thank
the
you,
CARES
thank
Act
you.
provision. We have a client with an entity issue that formed in Oklahoma in 2012. Since you are based in Oklahoma, I thought I would ask your opinion. The client is an LLC formed in Oklahoma in 2012. He elected S-Corp status in the same year. Late in 2012, he relocated to Pennsylvania and neglected to file as a foreign entity or register as a domestic entity with Pennsylvania. Since that time, he has been filing as a Pennsylvania S-Corp. The Oklahoma LLC entity was canceled in 2015 as annual returns were not filed for 3 consecutive years. Consequently, he is operating and filing S-Corp returns with Pennsylvania and the IRS since 2012 on an entity that does not exist. We discovered this information during an IRS payroll audit of 16, 17, and 18. We are looking for assistance with correcting his entity issues. Unfortunately, the CPAs and tax attorneys we have spoken to locally, as well as the PA Department of Revenue and PA Department of State, have not been able to provide any guidance. I realize this has nothing to do with PPP material. If you cannot help, perhaps you can refer us to someone in Oklahoma that to help.
Yeah, you bet. So Brian, thanks so much, and thanks to your team. I love it. Hey, so here's the deal. I know it's 2015. It may not be too late, but the LLC entity, I don't know if when you say it was canceled in 15, I know that that's quite a while ago, but I know that we've had clients now. I don't know if it's back quite that far, but my point is this. If you'll, will you forward this email to my other email?
Yep.
All I was going to say is this: you can do a reinstatement. I mean, I can't remember for that many years. It might be $100 plus $20 each year or something to that effect. So if it's still on the books somewhere, that LLC is still somewhere at the Secretary of State. In essence, they can just get it caught up. And I understand what you're saying in terms of the dilemma. When I read that, I understand that they've not kept it current. And I know we get into some technicalities here. And since you haven't had any direction, so here's mine, which is there is an entity. It just hasn't stayed current with the Secretary of State. I don't know that that makes it no longer an entity. It has filed as such, it's acted as such, it's done payroll as such, it has an ID number, it's filed tax returns, it's done everything. And I do get it, right? Like, well, but the legal entity was shut down, they didn't set up over here, form over substance a little bit. I don't know that the IRS would really care, but here's the quandary is, would the IRS say, well, you know what, you're not an S-Corp, you're a C-Corp, or you're a general partnership, or something to that effect, and we both know that there's a number of issues that come out of that. So I've sent an email to my working CPA email, and so let me follow up with you, and I'll find the website, and I'll see if I can, if you don't mind, if you could email me the business name so that I can just look it up and see if I can come across it, and then
He said, I appreciate
What's
you're
up, everybody?
awesome. I appreciate your response.
yeah, you bet, you bet. So let me see what I can do on that, but long story short, if we could just revive it in Oklahoma. I know it doesn't solve your Pennsylvania issue and filing as a foreign corp and all that stuff, but I think it would help from the federal standpoint and avoid it. But I would still even argue, if it came down to it, to say, I mean, they acted as, and it was, and all these filings were done, everything hopefully sounds like on time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully that'll be okay. And I wouldn't collapse it unless you're forced to. I mean, I wouldn't make it a C or make it a partnership. If you find that it's totally like lost cause, entity shut down, then probably what I would, if it was just me personally, is I'd be like, well, you know, client, we couldn't get anywhere, so that business is over and we're starting a new one, so at least now you have a start date of when it was done properly. So hey, thanks for watching, and thanks for letting your team watch too. I really appreciate that. So we'll get to the bottom of it somehow. I really appreciate it.
All right, this is from Becky with Bride Accounting Services. Do you know how these wages Do you know how these wages during the use of the PPP money are being used as a deduction for the employer? For example, you have a sole proprietor that is paying its employees with PPP money, say using $10,000. Does the sole proprietor not get to deduct said $10,000 in gross wages on their Schedule C in 2020? I haven't heard of this topic being talked about yet on your videos. Sorry if I missed it.
Nope, you didn't. I haven't addressed a lot of the stuff kind of the after the fact, so I'll be kind of switching over to that. But the way that it works is, think of, you being an accountant, of course. The way I'm going to be booking it for clients is I'm going to, when the deposit comes in, I'm going to set up a liability account that in essence offsets it. So of course now it's not going to the profit and loss, I'm debiting the liabilities. And then as that money is spent, it will be, instead of coding it to payroll or rent or utilities, it'll be coded to that liability to reduce down the liability. Now I do have a few clients that we're gonna wanna know what those expenses were, so that we're comparing year to year, such as just the payroll from one year to the next, or the rent from one year to the next. And so there are gonna be a few clients that I am gonna just go ahead and normally put it in its category. But then when I go to do the tax return, or like if you're talking about on Schedule C, just in the other expenses, I'm gonna put a line item that just says, paycheck protection program expense offset. And I've had to do that, when we're taking federal tax credits. Therefore, if we get a federal tax credit, like R&D, we then have to reduce down the expenses by that amount. So that's what I'm doing is I'm doing one of two things. The clients that it doesn't really matter, I'm just booking it to a liability, reducing the liability as they spend it. And then the ones that it does, I'm just gonna track the expense. And probably what I'm not doing initially, for, we know third parties and banks wanna look at all this, is I may not initially put that on the P&L, the money that they get. I'll probably still show it as a liability, and then at year end, show some kind of an adjustment so it doesn't confuse everybody. But I think the liability approach is probably the most straightforward and the most accurate. But the clients I'm doing, I don't have any clients I do audits or reviews or compilations, pure management use only. No one's relying on these financials in any way, shape, or form, pure management purpose only. So great question, and yes, more videos to come on that.
Well, I'm just going to give a shout out real quick to Adrian Gardner, because he just wrapped up part 1 and now he's catching up on part 2.
Wow.
we have 2 questions in front of his.
Oh, okay.
But he is waiting for his. That's how awesome he
Well,
is.
thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Send us your address. We'll send you a koozie. Send you a JJ the CPA koozie.
This one's from last name Patel.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I have three S corporations where 2 corporations have employees, DBA Subway Restaurant Individual Corporation, and a third one is an S corporation, but there is no employees. Please see below. And she gives out her details. No employees, and she incorporated, so please guide me. Where should I apply for this S corporation? Okay,
so it's no employees anywhere. Oh, no. I have 3 S where 2 corporations have S. Okay. And the third one is an S, but there's no employees. Okay, yeah, so with this, you would just apply for only the entities that have the actual employees. And so, let's see, applied for PPP and approved, applied for PP and approved. Digital, never applied for PP, applied for EIDL. No employees, please guide me. Yeah, so I think you've done it properly, with the first 2 entities that you listed. What would be best is either that EIDL gets very clearly used for cost of goods sold, which you're in the restaurant industry, so that would be possible. And then if you get the PPP money, you'd want to use that separately because you can't use them at the same time. And then Someone's saying it's jjthecpahelp.com, jjthecpahelp.com. So I think you've done it all the way that it needs to get done. I mean, I think you've done it perfectly, that you've done the PPP in both the EIDLs. You just want to separate those out, and the one that has no employees, you did the EIDL. So I think you're good to go there. So good job, nicely done.
Sorry.
How are we? I seem like I'm buzzing through these a little quicker.
We're
Yeah.
only at 23 minutes.
I thought you were going to give a
haven't
shout
even
out. I thought you were going to give a shout out to me that we were moving so quickly.
We are. I'm giving a shout out to JJ, and he hasn't even turned on his timer, but I've been watching him. So, all right. So our next question is from Dalina. After watching your wonderful, helpful video, I found out that I need to withdraw my unemployment application that is still pending. I went on into my online MAUA account and find nowhere to withdraw it. My Santander Bank is still not ready for a PPP application yet. I bet maybe next week. I'm going to apply for PPP loan first, then it will run out. I will plan for the next step of unemployment benefit, as you said. I'm worried if later I get approved loan and eligible for unemployment benefits simultaneously. Any suggestions?
Yeah, so let's see. However, MA state not available for sole proprietor to apply yet. After I saw immediately applied and mentioned I'm self-employed in employer part. Did I do something wrong in your recommendation? Hey, no, so Delina, you haven't done anything incorrect, and from the standpoint of getting your ducks in a row, that's the number one thing to do here. You know, when I'm listing out, you know, PPP, EIDL, and then doing unemployment, you know, that's in a perfect world where we don't have issues and there's no, you know, crisis or uncertainty that we're dealing with. And so first and foremost, just know you haven't done anything incorrect. And then as it relates to the PPP, you know, that does take a little bit of time. So if you're in a set of circumstances where your unemployment's been put in, and you know, I'm self-employed in your employer part question, I think you probably answered that correctly. So here's all I would do is, if you haven't been paid on either one of them, then wait and see who pays first. When you get the PPP money, that would be the time to, if your unemployment has kicked in, to try and then, you know, quote unquote, withdraw from the unemployment. Now, I don't know what kind of dollars you're dealing with here, you know, depending on if it's high dollars or not. So now I'm just making more of a practicality, is that just know this: if the PPP finally comes through, and if you are getting federal unemployment, $600 a week, so that's $2,400 a month, you know, that continues as long as in essence, you need it or you qualify for it. So you would want to compare carefully, because just know this: if the PPP money comes and you're doing the unemployment and you're going to technically get more off the unemployment, for lack of a better word, because I don't know your numbers, you can always just return the PPP money. There's no harm, no foul. And the reason you'd be returning is to say, well, by the time I applied for it, I got unemployment, so I didn't end up needing it or using it. And you wouldn't have any monies to use it if you're collecting the unemployment. So there's lots of ways to get out of it. And what I mean is, like, unravel it. So for where we are, fact that it's April 13th, weeks behind, your state's not alone in terms of including the sole proprietor. And then you indicating your employer that you're self-employed, it's the same difference. It really is. There is really truly no difference. For whatever reason, this PPP thing has brought in some thinking that there's a difference between a sole proprietor and self-employed. But for tax purposes, for employment purposes, it is all really in the same category. So rest assured, you'll be able to get through all of it. Hopefully you get some money soon. Thanks for your question.
Adrian Gardner, your time is here. Hello, JJ. I've scaled down my deductions on my Schedule C for the PPP loan and uploaded the documents to my bank. when I file my 2019 taxes, can I add more deductions before I send them my 2019 taxes?
Yeah, and that's what I had put in that video is that, just be mindful of, what you're doing on Schedule C. And, if you don't have, no one's, the IRS does not require us to take deductions in any way, shape, or form. But one of the things I did say in the video is that, however you prepare that Schedule C and hand in for loan purposes, then that would be how you would need to file it with the IRS. It's all governmental agencies. There's a really good chance that, first of all, it's a very slim chance that you would get selected for audit, but in the event that you were randomly selected for audit, I can almost guarantee that in that IRS audit, knowing it's the year of the PPP, they would want to have a copy from the bank of what you provided to the bank on that Schedule C. So do I think you're going to get audited? No. And is there a way that they're going to match these things up? I don't know. I don't know how they really could, because you didn't submit a Schedule C to the SBA. But at the end of the day, what you run into is, which one did you do wrong? Okay, meaning, did you put in a loan document that was fraudulent? I hate to use that word, but did you put in a loan document that's fraudulent? Of course you didn't, right? But then if that wasn't fraudulent and you change your Schedule C, then was that fraudulent? So I think it's kind of a, you're really just gonna have to be consistent, and that's what I had put in that email. So it's a good question. I think a lot of people are, unsure of how do you go about that. I do know that there's a big question in my mind on whether or not things like mileage and depreciation shouldn't be added back, because for other loan purposes, they always are. I also think that it is okay if numbers were to change and it was only to get it more accurate, but that would only be really related to the income. So long story short, I think you really just need to stick with whatever you submitted. Then you can sleep easy at night. And then whatever it is that you submitted, then you need to go ahead and put that in with your tax returns, and then you've done everything right, because you just don't want to ever be in a position where, due to inconsistencies, as good as a heart I know you would have, and you wouldn't have meant to do anything incorrectly, they wouldn't see it. And to be honest with you, I think where you would get in potentially more trouble is that you would have gotten a loan under quote unquote false pretenses, which just means that the IRS may not really care, so to speak, but the loan or the SBA may. So not worth it. I mean, I understand that you're going to save some taxes if you have more expenses, but let's just be honest with you, we're getting free money. So, you pay a little more tax, but you got some free money, you use it for the expenses, and it's not taxable. So just stick with what you did there. And then guess what? Now you're basically done with 19, at least with the Schedule C, with the hard part.
All right, this one is from Randy.
Thank you, Adrian, by the way.
Client has an LLC. This is one member LLC. Gross income only 1099 miscellaneous equals 52,000. All expenses equal 2,000. Net income on Schedule C equals 50,000. Should this person apply for PPP and or EIDL? Yeah,
all day long on the PPP. Definitely, no matter what, you're going to get more, even if you got the maximum EIDL that once upon a time was 10K. Maybe it still is. But definitely do the PPP. You got that Schedule C. Go ahead and give them the 1099 as well, but you're going to want to do the net there. That divided by 12. Make sure you're picking up your health insurance, and if you're doing a SEP plan, those get to be added onto that. And then when when you've used up your PPP money, if we're still in economic distress, then go ahead and get the EIDL. Then you bet. You would be able to go and get unemployment if so needed. So do that in order. But 100%, Randy, get in there, get yourself a PPP.
All right, this one is from Andy. My wife is a full-time real estate agent. In 2019, net income of 24,000, no employees, so PPP would be about 5,000. Unemployment in Michigan will be about $900 per week, 300 plus 600 fed, so might get more than PPP on weekly basis. Should we still do the PPP, then go for unemployment? How soon after receiving PPP can we apply for unemployment?
Yeah, so I would say definitely go for the PPP. But based on what we know now with the self-employed, I mean, at this point, I just simply think it's going to be, hey, what did you net? You're self-employed. Well, I mean, it's all forgiven. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how we would show that we didn't use it or did use it. I know on the PPP that it is only $5,000, but you know as well as I do, let's take it. And then on the unemployment, so here's the only thing though on a practicality is if you can get that PPP in and someone will approve it within a week, because that's really, it shouldn't take longer than that, then you should have that money within 2 weeks. And so maybe most states you're having to wait a week or so on the unemployment. So I'd get a PPP in tomorrow, go to jjthecpahelp.com, jjthecpahelp.com, the main page. You got the application, I got worksheets, I got documents. If you're gonna do it based on Schedule C, I've got a worksheet that you can put together. Here's a list, boom, get it to the bank and see how quickly you can get that taken care of. Because if you can get that PPP money next week, let's say, today being Monday, and then, I don't know that there's any time parameter. I know that we have this 8-week period, but that's related to wages. And then you'd be able to get unemployment after that. But I think if you went that course of action, and then just know this, if for some reason you're not getting anywhere with the PPP, which you should absolutely get somewhere, you should absolutely be able to get this, then get on the unemployment. I don't think this is something you'd want to exhaust out for, like a month and then be looking at unemployment. So get the PPP because you can, you should. It's a little bit of shot in the arm that you all deserve. So. All right, 2 minutes on that one. All right, so thank you, Andy in Michigan, and good luck to you both.
Our next question comes from someone who wants to remain anonymous.
Okay.
One question, if you are self-employed single member LLC and you are W-2 employed who was furloughed, can you file for unemployment, W-2, and self-employed federal payment?
Yeah, so you have 2 streams of income, and so you'd be able to apply for whatever relief it is that you get for each stream of income. So on your W-2, you'd be able to get the unemployment on that. Now you wouldn't be able to qualify for more unemployment because at the federal level, it's if you qualify for $1, you get $600, but that's all you would get on unemployment. That's it. But on your self-employed, you can either do a PPP or you can do an EIDL, and it's because you have a separate activity, a separate, in essence, business, and a separate source of revenue. So I would go that route and do it, and hopefully you're already able to get the unemployment on your furlough. So sorry about all that, but hopefully you'll get some relief, and thank you for your question.
All right, this question's from Dawn. Sorry to keep bothering you. I'm looking for help or direction. I can't figure out how to pay myself in an S-Corp a 941 with QuickBooks. I haven't done anything yet for payroll in 2020, but for quarter one, I need to pay myself and my wife. It would be really helpful video. If not, can you point me to the right place? I've looked all over YouTube. Do you think the PPP will be able to pay my quarter one payroll? Bank says they think so. Thanks again for all you're doing.
Yeah, you bet. No worries, Dawn. So I know what the bank's saying there, and I know you've got the S-Corp, and you would be looking at the wages. The problem that you're going to run into, though, is that the taxes were already due, in essence, for quarter one. I know that there might be a way to squeak something out, quote unquote, by tomorrow, but even though we could put something together on paper, technically, those payroll taxes that would have been in January were due February 15th. What was in February was due March 15th. What would have been done in March would be due April 15th. You'd have to get EFTPS, you'd have a number of things to get set up. And you've got to do all that anyways, but good thought in the sense of, trying to document what your compensation is. So there wouldn't be anything to do there, and you shouldn't attempt it, and you definitely shouldn't do it on your own. What I would recommend is, online, there are different payroll processing companies. Paycom is one that's based here out of Oklahoma. And so for the go forward, don't even try to do payroll yourself. There's too many ways that you can get a penalty. And I don't even mean it as a scary, it's just more like, it's just such a hassle. So my grandfather told me, who was a CPA for over 55 years, he says, stop doing payroll once you start your own practice as soon as possible, because it's bean counting, and if there's ever any issues, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I'm just saying, yes, you do need to start payroll. Don't do it yourself. Please don't. Hire a company. It's not just about calculating the net. It's about all the forms that go along with it that are due monthly and quarterly, and all the taxes that have to get submitted to the feds, to the state, to unemployment, to federal unemployment. Just totally not worth it. So stick with whatever facts and circumstances you have for now, and then hire someone to do the payroll. Thank you, Dawn.
This next one's really long and very personal, so.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if
Oh,
it's something.
didn't we already?
This is a different one.
Okay.
The Our Joy Care.
Yeah, so we'll just have to, we'll just reply at a different, we'll just reply in an email.
Okay. This one's from Lori. I'm a partner in an LLC which owns a piece of real estate in Queens, New York. We have been in the process of starting work to improve the property. The property has been vacant since August of 18. Although we don't have a decrease in income, the shutdown is furthering draining our funds and the ability to rent out the property. We are in New York and everything has been shut down, including construction. Is there any assistance we can apply for the carrying cost?
Yeah, Lori, so thanks for the email in Queens, New York. So probably dealing with some expensive real estate there as well. Unfortunately, even to get the EIDL, you have to be active in business, active being that you're collecting income. Now, maybe somebody has a different school of thought on the EIDL, but when you go and apply, you do have to put in the gross income, not that that proves anything, but you're also in an activity of the rental, but it's on future rentals. So I absolutely get that you are having an economic injury, and it makes sense to me that you would logically qualify for an EIDL, but I do feel that the spirit and nature, so to speak, of the EIDL is for an active business. Right now, you're in pre-launch, so to speak. You're getting ready to shoot for the moon. It's still kind of the investment period. And so unfortunately, there's not, and this is where there's a gap for sure. And so what I would indicate is to go to sba.gov and there look for the SBA, not the EIDL, but look for the SBA Express and maybe start a process there. And then also under the CARES Act, there should be a provision with your lender that they'll at least put those things on hold, those things being, the payments and the interest. So, but Lori, good luck to you, and I'm sure we will all get through this, and hopefully there's gonna be a lot more help coming, even if it's not necessarily financial, but help in terms of creditors having to put things on hold, so to speak. So, and of course, if you haven't already, I'm sure you have, but get a hold of the banks, let them know. And unfortunately, I don't see anything there for you. I wish I had better news for you.
All right, this one is from D. I applied for unemployment on March 29th, approved 13 weeks going forward. And I am doing my 2019 taxes with last payroll ran in December 2019. Do I apply for PPP based on my payroll of 2019 divide by 12 times 2.5 plus SCP IRA contributions for 2019 plus utilities 2019 for PPP approval? And if PPP approved, then my current unemployment benefit started on March 29th must stop when I use that money for payroll before June 30th. Also, should I apply for EIDL?
Okay, this is for D.
D. She wants to be called D.
That's right, I love it. All right, so absolutely use 2019. That's what the banks want. That's what you'll provide. It's the simplest way to go. They absolutely allow for that. So you'll use that. You know, typically if you're doing it on the annual basis, they'll just take a W-3, which shows the summary. I recommend that you use box 5. It's the most pure number, the most conservative. Excuse me, when I say most conservative, it's just the most pure number on there. It makes all the adjustments that need to be adjusted. If you try and go with a box 1 or a box 3, you might be able to get to the same result with some kind of adjustments. Long story short, box 5 of W3. If they want you to go by 941s, then go with line 5C, column 1. You'll see that I've got quite a bit of information at jjthecpahelp.com. I've got the application there, documents, videos on how to fill out the worksheets, and as well as Excel spreadsheets that'll tell you to do it on the calendar year. Plus the SEP, absolutely. Plus any insurance that you're paying. And then you wouldn't include utilities on this one. The utilities is what is used so you get the money, you use it on utilities, but that's not included in the number to determine. And then as it relates to here, PPP approves that my current unemployment that started March 29th must stop when I use the money for payroll before June 30th. That's correct, and it's actually 8 weeks. Now, if you're doing it as so that PPP, when it runs out, then you can go back on unemployment, and then you can get an EIDL, but if you're gonna go back on unemployment, then you need to get the EIDL and use it for other purposes besides payroll. So how do you do that? Well, when you get the money, you use it for other things besides payroll that are inside the business. I'd probably wait to do the EIDL. But do not go off unemployment. Do not until you literally have that money from the PPP literally in your hands, not just approved, not just told you're gonna get it, but when you literally have that money in your hands, then I would say, hey, I'm gonna pause the unemployment until the PPP is used. So, all right, thank you, Dee. We really appreciate it. Good luck to you.
This is from Doobie. I'm a single member LLC and applied without using a Schedule C or a 1099 since I'm a new owner. With lost 2019 and haven't done taxes. I only based PPP on my part-time employee's wage for 2019. Can I do a separate one for myself and still get extra money? Or should I have included myself even though business had no net income? And if I absolutely cannot include myself to get extra PPP on top of part-timers' pay, then can I solely keep it just employees pay without having anything backfire after the 8 weeks?
Right, I'm following the rest of it. Yes, I was approved 2 hours after submitting the PPP using only my part-time pay. Nice. Let's see, but I hesitate to accept because of very small amount, thinking I could include myself. Gotcha. All right, hey, well, you bet. So on this, you wouldn't have been able to include yourself because you had the loss. If you had payroll to yourself, you could have included yourself. So you did it all correct on the PPP. And then I know it's on the smaller amount. And if you are a single member LLC and you're using the Schedule C, you would have to go with the net. And being a single member LLC, which means you're self-employed, you based it on the wages. If that employee's still working for you, then of course you're using it to pay them and you'd get the forgiveness. If that employee's no longer with you, you're able to use it for the sole proprietorship. So know this, when you're a sole proprietor, when you do the Schedule C, you're getting that dollar amount, but you are also the owner of it. And so that's kind of a very unusual set of circumstances. I see zero concerns with you being able to quote unquote use it for yourself. I know you said it's a smaller amount. What I would do is also on that Schedule C, when the PPP money is basically it's run out, and I think you said it's a smaller amount, then I would go and get the EIDL, which is sba.gov, and get that COVID-19 disaster loan. And then you would list yourself as an employee, as well as if you just have one other employee. So you'd have 2 employees. When it asks for sales, you basically put that gross on your Schedule C, and then when it asks for COGS, put the full amount of expenses. And congratulations on getting that 2 hours after. You won't be able to include yourself. And then, let's see, accept as it, yeah, so I would just accept it as is. Just do it. And if you got an employee still on the books with you, well, now you have money to pay them. If for some reason they're still not there, well, as a sole proprietor, you have the opportunity to also use that, in my opinion, for yourself, because you are a sole proprietor. So at the end of the day, I don't think you do anything wrong. Get the IDL, but then you also can get federal unemployment as well. So, all right, well, thank you for the question, Doobie.
All right, this is from Agina. I submitted my application to cabbage.com. They accepted it Friday. My concern now is I put down I was an independent contractor and provided a 1099K and Schedule C. Should I have called myself a sole proprietor, and can I get denied because I said I was an independent contractor, when from what you're saying is that makes me a Schedule C, makes me sole proprietor?
Yeah, you know what I love is, trying to do things correctly. The thing to note is that until this PPP, none of these were separate descriptions at all. A sole proprietor, in my world, if someone would have said independent contractor or sole proprietor or self-employed, immediately I'm going, it's going to be a Schedule C. The other thing is that all of these things end up on Schedule SE, which is subject to the self-employment tax. If there was an issue with it, the fact that you gave them a Schedule C, your bank would have potentially already fixed it when they put it in. It makes no difference. I think that if anything, it would be if you had only put in your 1099K and not given them your Schedule C, then you would have an issue. But the fact that you gave them both is phenomenal. You did it perfect. No worries on that. And the only reason I actually started breaking down like sole proprietor versus independent contractor or self-employed was trying to kind of clue into what was the SBA going with in terms of trying to figure that out. And so Schedule C was clearly sole proprietor, and that was in some videos to, in essence, say, well, hey, you can go apply right now because you're a sole proprietor. You don't have to wait till April 10th. And then on the independent contractor, that just means you don't have expenses. But really, when you look at what's an independent contractor, if you're filing on Schedule C, that's an independent contractor. So you got zero concerns. Don't lose a wink of sleep over it. Did everything great. If there was any issues, the bank already fixed it for you. Accept as is. You should have no concerns. So, all right, well, and hopefully you get that money soon, and appreciate the question, and good luck to you.
This is from Kathy. I wonder if you could help me in this matter. I filed my 2019 taxes online March 9th and still haven't received my tax return. The returns should be sent through a direct deposit. Been trying to contact with the IRS, but they are not answering the phone live. Do you have any email addresses or any other way that I can follow up with them to see what is going on?
Yeah, you bet. So go to irs.gov, and right there on the front page, they actually have, and even if you're checking on the phone, it says, where's my refund? And what you'll want to do is have your tax return in front of you, because it'll just ask you some basic questions that you'll be able to get. And in fact, if you don't mind me saying, Amanda checked on hers today. Yesterday they were saying they weren't available online. But let's see. Yep, I'm looking right now. There's a woman in front of her computer going like this, where it says, where's my refund? So go to that. It basically is social, filing status, and then it'll probably, I think it asks for what is the amount of the refund, and then it'll confirm that they have it. If they've processed it far enough, they'll even give you an anticipation date of when it will come. But you're not alone in that there's been quite a delay. I mean, usually it's within 10 days. and you are absolutely not alone that money's not come, but check on it for sure and see where you're at. So hopefully it comes soon, as well as your stimulus check.
The next one is from Brendan, and it's super long, and he's got charts and everything in there, so.
Okay,
Like, he gave you everything.
gotcha. Okay, so yeah. Well, let me just glance at it.
If you guys are here, make sure that you're subscribed, and especially if you're asking questions, that is just a way that you can give back for getting the free information that you're being given. Also, we have 163 people and only 21 thumbs up, so if you guys could please hop on there and give some good thumbs up. That is another way to shoot this video up to the top so we can get more views, and that just helps us be able to get you guys more information.
Yeah, I think on this one, yeah, I think there's some good information here, but I think to give a careful answer, let's save this one for me to reply.
Okay.
So, Brendan, if you're on, we're waiting for an answer, just know I will have to reply by email to give you a thoughtful answer here because you've given me some good information.
Yeah, he was awesome. All right, next one is from Bob. Are there any programs for individuals who report their real estate income and expenses on Schedule E?
Yeah, there's not, unfortunately, and I did a video on this one. If you go to the JJ Common Questions playlist that I created today, and the reason why is that it's not subject to self-employment income. And so basically it's passive, it's rental income, and don't get me wrong, I understand that you definitely are potentially in jeopardy of losing rent, but what you would want to do is then look at the EIDL, SBA.gov, and by doing the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which is the COVID-19 loan, you'd be able to get some dollars there. It will ask for number of employees. Just put one for yourself. It's going to ask for gross income. Just put the gross rents and cost of goods sold. The SBA has indicated just put your expenses in there. If I was you, I'd wait a few days. Right now, it's a little bit of an unknown how much the SBA is paying out on these for whatever reason. And so I don't know. If you don't need this money this second, I'd wait till you hear some better news, or maybe wait till Friday on the EIDL. So that'd be the route to go. And then you should still, if you're losing a stream of income, there is provisions there that I think you might be able to qualify for some federal unemployment. So best of luck to you on that. Thanks for the question. Thanks for watching.
And this is from Charles.
Can I catch up with you where I saw there was a Lisa and then a Terry and?
Yeah, I'm Lisa's, that's
Okay.
behind. You need to go to the one in front of that. It says from you, because I had to forward it.
Okay. Well, it's just easier to follow along when you're reading it. All right. Well, we are getting close. Were we in the starred?
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Okay.
All right, this is from Charles. Can a person get a big SBA loan to buy an apartment complex? EIDL expanded. The apartment complex rental income will pay off debt.
You know, I'm not really knowledgeable in the SBA loan area to give probably a proper answer on that, other than to say that is what it's designed for. From what I understand, SBA lenders, you know, have different provisions. SBA lenders, you know, like dealing with the real estate, but I know it wouldn't have any impact on getting an EIDL or a PPP. You would just be going in to basically straight up get an SBA loan. So you'll have to bypass both those provisions, and then basically the thing about both of these, the PPP and the EIDL, is to, in essence, make those that had already had those things in play, make that whole. So check out, you know, SBA lender, and if you go to SBA.gov, there's actually a spot where you can put in your zip code and find a lender, and then I would contact them Might wait a week or two, just from sure that they're all buried doing the PPP work. But anyways, well, good luck to you on that.
All right, our next one is from Terry.
Back?
Yeah.
One more?
Are you on Terry?
No? Okay, here we go.
And one from Lisa was just her thanking us.
Oh, okay, okay.
I started an LLC in January 2020 along with an
Sweet.
EIN for the business in January as well. I also work
Awesome.
full-time as a nurse. I have made no income yet with my LLC. However, I have a rental space, marketing expenses, and other expenses I am paying out monthly, and due to the coronavirus, I cannot make any money. Can I apply for the CARES pandemic unemployment related to losing potential money for my business, even though I still work for another employer?
All right, and thank you for the compliment. Well, thank you for being a part of the front line in some way, shape, or manner. Hopefully you are staying safe. Great to hear for somebody that's in the medical field. So what I would tell you this is that as it relates to the unemployment, it would be more the fact that you just have the job that you have, because I'm sure when you're going and you're filling out the questionnaire, that's where you would be stopped, is that, you know, you have a job, which is what you were already thinking, which is more just to say that's why you wouldn't be able to get unemployment on the business. But I will say this, for those out there, if you didn't have the position as a nurse as well, the federal government in their unemployment, in these circumstances, absent Terry's job, then would be able to claim federal unemployment. What I would suggest is, boy, I don't know if, yeah, I don't think you would qualify for the EIDL either. Well, I take that back. I mean, you did get an EIN, you have set it up, you do have expenses. I think though, when you file for the EIDN, just put in 0 income, put in your expenses. You have to put 1 employee because it's you as a self-employed, but go to sba.gov. And since I don't really know the true answer in the sense of you have no income, so does that bar you from getting the EIDL? If you apply and you put in 0 income, you put the 1 employee, you do have expenses, then you very well may benefit from the EIDL. But let the SBA decide that if you just give them that information, no income with expenses. So, all right, Terry, stay safe, and thanks for your question. I really appreciate it.
All right, our next one is from LM. We live off of rents as a way of postponing my Social Security until age 70. The building contains 3 suites and 2 that are leased, yielding about $7,000 per month.
You know what? This one, I'll skim this one because we got so much detail. If you don't mind, right? We're on the LM.
Yep.
Okay.
I just was skipping down to the questions.
Yeah. But let me just look at it right here. Just like boom, dun 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 dun. Got it. Based on what I heard you say, I just applied online for unemployment under the expanded eligibility self-employed. Did I understand you correctly on that? Yeah, everything I'm reading here, yeah, you did. And then let's see, applied online for the EIDL. Yep. 2 days after completing the SBA came out with $1,000 per employee. Yep. Unfortunately, my application showed 0, which I learned later that I could have shown 2 employees. Yeah. Should I wait to resubmit to the SBA? I would. But if you haven't heard anything, and then if you haven't heard anything after 10 business days, I would go ahead and reapply with the EIDL. You are able to show 2. So yes, I think you were able to get the federal unemployment. And of course, you answered the question. So the states minorly have different opinions on how that stuff works. And then let's see. 2 days after that, you completed the SBA. So yeah, after about 10 business days, and then you've not applied for PPP. Yeah, you wouldn't, because you don't have self-employment income, and as I'm seeing here, it doesn't appear that your K-1 has been subject to self-employment tax. Therefore, you wouldn't be eligible for the PPP. And I'm very confident your partnership is not subject to self-employment tax, because if it was, it would affect your Social Security. So you got a great setup. I like the tax structure that you have in play. It's good. It works for the retirement aspect. And when you're dealing with the things that you're dealing with, I think I think whoever set that structure up for you did a great job. So stick with unemployment. Maybe reapply for the EIDL if you hear nothing after about 10 business days. And good luck to you. So I really appreciate it. Julio, did he see that I was going to send him this shirt, Julio, CPA?
So.
Okay. Amanda's like, listen, we're getting to the next question. Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's go.
too
Let's
bad.
go.
All right. Let's see. Chuck. Chuck is a long one, so.
Okay.
That's Modern Automotive.
Oh, okay. This is Chuck.
Chuck from Modern Automotive.
Okay. Well, you find the next one. Let me just read it. Let's see. Let's see.
Make sure that you guys are subscribed if you were here. Can I buy the JJ the CPA shirt with PPP money?
Oh my God. You know, it doesn't qualify, so we'll just have to give you one, I guess. Send us your address. We'll send you a shirt or maybe a koozie. Let's see. Someone just made a comment about Clearview.
Clear Value Tax made a video today where SBA emailed him back confirming $1,000 per pre-disaster employee for EDIL.
Oh man, okay. Let's see. Okay, so with Modern Automotive, if I'm remembering and seeing this correctly, I mean, you have submitted it, you're waiting on funding, as in you've put everything in. And then you've got some questions about making sure that you're able to, get it as much as you can forgiven. I see a couple of things here that you're saying, we're not sure we do this, we don't do that. Let's see. Yeah, and the SBA loan guy saying that PPP would include 6 months of SBA paying principal and interest on my existing SBA loan. I don't believe that's the case at all. Now, if this is your banker that did the loan with you, I don't think that actually has anything to do with the PPP, FYI. I think that the CARES Act basically puts that in play automatic, just as an FYI. What the PPP does, though, as well, is that on that loan, your payments and interest is deferred 6 to 12 months is what comes into play there. So it's not that your SBA guy told you wrong, and it might have just been part of the conversation, but nonetheless, I think that'll happen either way. You want to make sure it happens. I've been telling people, check with your lender, make sure that it's on this, I guess it'd be like a forbearance, so make sure it is on that. But I think you're going to get that no matter what. And then as it relates to, the monies and what you're using, if you do have interest on existing loans, including that other SBA, the amount of interest that's going to the loans will count towards your forgiveness. It's fine that you don't have these other employee benefits, because a lot of companies don't offer that. Lots of companies don't offer those two things. And then, as it relates to your payroll, all you can really do is just, you're maintaining your payroll. If somebody were to leave, replace them, so to speak. there's not really a strategy you can do with the payroll. Not that I don't think you're looking for a strategy or anything. So all it is you just let the chips fall where they may. You know, you got 8 weeks to spend it on payroll, rent, utilities, the interest. If you don't have any of those other benefits, you don't have them. And the key here is just you get to the end of the 8 weeks, and then what'd you spend, what's left over you owe back, and you can either just write a check and give it back to them right then so you don't incur any more debt, or thank you tax slayer, or you then just, it turns into a separate loan that's a 1% loan. So I think the key here is just in those 8 weeks, just stick to the payroll and then let the chips fall where they may. And then, you know, just you can't give new raises. You can't increase people's pay. If you need to add somebody, just add somebody. You can't really do it wrong. It's just during the 8 weeks, only spend it on the things, and then see where you are at the end. And then, you know, follow up with me. Let me know if you have any other questions or if I didn't resolve something that you were asking about. Let's see, desktop. Yeah, so QuickBooks Online, yeah, the only reason us desktop guys don't like it is we just can't run the reports that we want to run. So, all right, what's next? Thank you, Chuck.
And this is from Tom. Can someone use deferred payroll tax payment for FICA withheld prior to receipt of PPP money? Again, employers who receive PPP money are ineligible.
Let's see. Yeah, so no, you're not able to use anything prior, but basically what it comes down to is, you know, the 8 weeks during that period is what payroll is going to count. So that's why nothing before will be able to be carried over into that. So I think that, yeah, that, let's see. And how other programs of PP, here's another. Oh, so I've got Tom, so I've got a playlist. Oh, nah, Tom and I'll just call Tom. I didn't realize this is Tom, like Tom. So next one, Tom, I'll follow up with you.
This is
Yeah.
another one from Tom.
Oh, another Tom?
No, same Tom.
Okay.
Last Friday they had a webinar and there were over 200 questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tom and I are just having separate discussions. We don't have to go on air about them. Just one CPA helping another CPA. As in he's helping me.
This is from Tamara. Can you accept the EID loan portion and use it to pay off a high rate credit card?
You know, with the EIDL, it can pay off debt, but it does need to be related to the business. So it would have to be that there was expenses related to the business. Now, just know this, I've not seen a lot on that EIDL in terms of the ins and outs. So if you happen to get something in writing from the SBA on what it can be paid for or not, but I mean, from what I've read is as long as it's related to the business, then you can pay off the expenses. So what you have on that credit card would have to be related to the business.
Our next question.
Thank you, Tamira.
Have to ask them for more information. It just says, my mom, Tiffany, gave me your email and suggested I inquire about the stimulus from the government and how or if it applies to me. All
right. Well, hey, Pierre, guess what? I've got a playlist called JJ Common Questions, and I shot a video about that today. I also have another video that's just called Stimulus Update. So probably the questions that you're looking for, you would find in one of those videos. So right. Thanks, Pierre.
Our next one is from Jared. You are by far the most knowledgeable source that he has seen anywhere.
Well, thank you.
Here's the problem I have. Our PPP loan is hitting our bank account today, but this past Friday, the Michigan governor extended and tightened her shelter-in-place order, thus shuttering any non-essential small businesses until at least May 1st, if not longer. We laid off the rest of our employees last Friday because we legally cannot stay open any longer. We have $400,000 PPP loan and 80 employees manufacturing. Our 8 weeks PPP clock has started and our staff can't come to work because of the emergency order. Don't think you'll have an answer for this, but small business like ours in Michigan need a voice, so Congress will listen to our case. Can you share this to anyone in Congress and let them know that's a problem with PPP when states that are in lockdown? We are a screen printing company and want to offer a token of our appreciation for what you do when we're back to work. You've already sending me a t-shirt and I will return the favor and send some back to you.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, you know, and I appreciate what you're saying there. And I think out of this, the first thing to know is that it is a crying shame that they're getting these monies to these businesses, and we're now in those circumstances of what you just said. And the smart thing, right? The business sense, sitting in the boardroom, making management decisions. What are we going to do here? In any other circumstances, if you had a loan coming, you would do exactly what you're doing, right? Which is, I mean, obviously you feel terrible, right? All the employees, they're going on unemployment, but the unemployment, when you take into account the federal unemployment that's been added to that, hopefully it puts those employees, most of them, in a good position. And then you would use whatever loan you would have here, right? For that when everybody comes back, boom, now you're using that for the payroll. So what I'm hoping, and I don't want to overplay this, but I do have a fairly direct and a fairly indirect voice, for lack of a better word, with those that are at our highest levels. And they are aware of this, and one of the emails or one of the videos that I had talking about the banking, that's been brought to the attention. Long story short, what I hope will happen and what I think will happen is they'll take that 8 weeks and maybe turn it into 12, or the original Senate bill was you had until June 30. And when it went through the House and then when it went into law, it went from you had to spend it by June 30 down to you had to spend it in 8 weeks. So I think there would be an expansion, don't know. So all you can do is do what you're doing. I think it's the smart play, so to speak. Hopefully your employees are benefiting. Now, I know there's those that would argue that you got the PPP money and therefore you should pay the employees and they should not be going on unemployment. You're not required to do that, because if, you know, at this point, May 1st, what, 2 or 3 weeks? Well, you still have another 5 weeks to go to have monies to be able to pay payroll. And when you get to the end of the 8 weeks, whatever you didn't spend on the payroll, rent, utilities, etc., well, you can just pay it back, right? I mean, or you pay it back immediately, or you can pay it back over time. So there's kind of no harm, no foul, but I hear what you're saying. I mean, like the clock's ticking, and now there's just going to be money sitting there that, yes, needs to go to the employees, and yes, I understand it should go to them now, but most of them that are going on unemployment are going to be made whole or better, potentially. If you do need a skeleton crew for whatever reason, you can use some of that payroll. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But at the end of the day, I'm hoping that they move this from an 8-week to a 12-week to a 16-week, because when they wrote this, I think that they all thought that we'd be back rocking and rolling by Easter, and unfortunately we are not. So I definitely think there's going to be something changed. Thank you for the email. I look forward to reciprocating with you so much.
All right, our next one is from Daniel, and it's a long one. So while
Let's
JJ
see.
is reading
Which one? This one?
Daniel.
No, not that one. Not this one. Did I already do that one?
PPP Stern video. Yeah, we already did that one. That one.
Oh, they saw the Stern video?
PP.
You know what's so funny is I uploaded this video, and anytime I'm uploading videos, I just put like 2 words on so it reminds me what video it is, because most of the time when I shoot videos, I'll do, 2 or 3 or 4. Today I did all of those kind of back to back. So I'm uploading them, and there's one that's called Stern PPP or something. But anyways, so obviously this person caught that because I noticed that it was being viewed. I didn't mean to make it public. It was supposed to remain private so I could change the title and add all the good things that were needed to be included in the body and all that good stuff. So let's see, JJ, your video makes sense for business owners that pay employees, and how about the account PPP by using it for its intended purpose? And yes, I listened all the way to the end. I appreciate that. I kind of went on and I was like really, and I tell you what, I made that video with like 4 clients in mind, and I sent all my other clients like, hey, here's the newsletter, but I sent them that one, and I said, hey, you need to listen to this one. Anyways, what is not clear, and I think this is where most self-employed, sole proprietor, independent contractors with no employees are lost when it comes to the PPP forgiveness. Yeah, and I did shoot a separate video on that, which is fine, but it was talking about the, yeah, I think it's in the PPP update for sole proprietors, self-employed, single member LLCs, excuse me, and the independent contractors. And, you know, I think it's actually going to be probably easier than we all think, which is that we're going to be in a position where with the sole proprietors, the self-employed, it's like, well, I mean, there's the net income. How do you show that you used it for yourself? I mean, you used it. And so I do think that's going to be a much easier time. There's not payroll to make. There's not technically other people at stake, so to speak. I know there are sole proprietors that also pay employees. So I think we're going to be okay there. And then this update doesn't have any. That's weird. Okay. Hang on. Going back. Where are we at? Okay.
No, he's saying he's, I mean,
We need to know what? We need to know how. Just yeah. I hear you. You're not strategizing. But I tell you what, here's if you have a separate bank account, then writing a check to yourself, I think is going to count. It's going to help. I do have a couple of clients that are getting the self-employed sole proprietor, and I've got that question to the bank because they're going to have to go back before the bank and say, hey, so listen, if we're going to have to substantiate that, like, what are we doing here? So at this one particular bank, the money's going into a separate setup of an account. And initially what the banker and I discussed was, well, you know, you take the amount that's in there and you pay it out to the individual. I don't know that you have to pay it out evenly. You know, I don't think you have to pay it out over 8 weeks. And if there were any other expenses that they do have, such as rent or utilities, you know, telephone line, the internet, if they are funding their, you know, a SEP, the health insurance, pay those expenses, and then in essence what's left over. So I think way less concerns with the sole proprietor. It'll be good to see what we get. Let's see. Yeah.
Steve is just saying he sent another video with a question.
Oh, okay. Yep, I hear what you're saying on this, Daniel, and I think right now that we are just going to have to wait and see. And you know, in terms of like taking it out and putting it back in, I don't think we would need to do that. And then an independent contractor, yes, would have to do this because you're kind of all in the same boat. That's why I just think probably it's just going to be, you know, it's forgiven. You know, it's almost kind of like an EIDL almost. It's like, well, for the self-employed, you got this, use it on yourself. Maybe you have to come back and show that you paid some of these other expenses. But like I said, you can use 100% of it on payroll if that's your existing. So I think we'll have a lot less concerns. I appreciate the email. I like your humor. I appreciate you watching. And you said there's another one. You got 2. Let's see. Boom. All right, pulling up the other one. Not there. See, but for some reason they're combining them on mine, which we need to turn that off. Here it is. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in all the live. Let's see. All right. Looking at the numbers here. Okay. Yep, 2018, got it, 2019. EIDL, yep, great move. Yep, 1 employee, perfect. Nope, you should have put 1. And yeah, and on the EIDL, just so everybody knows, there's actually not a place to request how much you want. The only way you could, quote unquote, request what you want is if you put down 10 employees. So you did it all perfectly. And then on the EIDL, there is no forgiveness. You just don't have to pay it back. I mean, it's just boom, here you go. You don't have to substantiate it or anything to that effect. And then on the business account, Chase appears to be requiring that. And then on the 1099, you could potentially just go with that to keep it simple. Based on what you're telling me that you have for your Schedule C, the gross, I would just go with the gross. There's really no reason to do a Schedule C for you. You might be able to get a few bucks of expenses. You could do that, but I would just go with what your 1099 is. You probably need to slap them up a little bit because they should have had that all to you actually by the end of January, and it's a huge fine for them. So let's see. Yeah, so you're welcome to do expenses, okay? So if you do the net, you obviously have less. I don't know that you need to take all those expenses. And should I apply for the PPP if I'm trying for the EIDL? So based on most likely how little the EIDL is in your circumstances, I'd go ahead and apply for the PPP. Just don't spend them at the same time. So this doesn't apply to everybody. It's just that based on the fact that you're going to get 1,000 from EIDL and then just starting out, the PPP will be a lower amount. So I'd go ahead and just do that and then go to sba.gov and look for the lenders. I do have, if you look in the banks or actually any of the videos in my playlist, JJ Common Questions, I've got a link to the SBA where you can find lenders. Because I don't think Chase will be able to do anything with you. Yep, and I agree with you on what you're saying about the forgiven. You won't be penalized. And then I would probably, quite frankly, I probably would, if you're going with the EIDL, and then based on what you're showing me on the PPP, quite frankly, I'd probably go based on your numbers here. I'd probably apply for unemployment May 1st. I think that you'd be safe with all of that. If you don't hear anything with the EIDL, I'd go back maybe 2 weeks and reapply. But I just think with the numbers that you're dealing with, absolutely take advantage of them all. But I think doing the unemployment May 1, if you can get there another 2.5 weeks or so, I think puts you in position. So even if you didn't get your money exactly before May 1, I think that it would all mix okay for you. So that's what I would do, and especially given the timing and the environment of how long everything's taking, that would be I'd feel okay about it, okay? You got the EIDL, boom, go ahead and put in the PPP because you'll probably get the EIDL hopefully soon. It'll take you a little bit to get the PPP. You're gonna use up both of those things, and then you're going right into the unemployment for sure. All right, well, hey, thank you for the support and watching, and I loved it that you're watching those videos. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, Daniel. Good luck to you.
All right, this one is from Aaron. We are in a state that is deeming us non-essential and are working only 10% of our staff currently. If awarded PPP and funded before the shutdown is over, will FTEs be an average over the 8 weeks, or will they be calculated week by week for forgiveness? Can the use of the funds be averaged over the 8 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm just breathing deep because, boy, they just did not make this easy as it relates to the forgiveness. So let me first break it down as I'm interpreting this is the head count and all that good stuff is just once we hit the end of the covered period, which is at the end of June, okay? The head count's not gonna be tracked throughout it. Now, It'll compare to head count in the prior year. And what you want to keep in mind is that in its simplest way of explaining it, you got 8 weeks. Here's what it is that you can spend during those 8 weeks, okay? It's not going to be based week by week. It is in its entirety. Now, you know, don't get me wrong, you can't just pay raises and things to that effect, but it's looking at the entire period. And so don't get me wrong, I don't think you could let people go and then give everybody big bonuses when they come back and try and make it up, because it's not meant to be a double dip from the employees getting unemployment and then coming back to work. You can't really do it wrong if you just stick to, in the 8 weeks, you're paying for payroll. So really more where the quandary comes into play is, well, do I pay these employees so they don't have to go on unemployment, or do I let them go on unemployment and then I have money that I can pay these employees when they come back? And really what it comes down to is, you know, you've been given that money to cover the employees over the next 8 weeks. I understand you're closed, but that is the purpose of the PPP. So I think it just kind of comes down to a business decision. Now, don't get me wrong, if you were saying, hey, we're letting everybody go and we're never going to rehire anybody, then I think you have a problem with the fact that you signed off on the PPP app that you would, you know, pay for payroll. But the fact of the matter is, you're talking about a few weeks here. So if the employees go on unemployment, the only thing to consider, which I'm sure you already have, is are they able to even make it? I mean, are they even able to get that money in time? It might really be that it'd be better just to use that money. I mean, in some ways, whatever you don't use in those 8 weeks, okay, you have to pay back, okay? Now, some of my clients are like, I don't care, I gotta pay back, I need that money, you know? I'll use it for what I can during the 8 weeks, and then when it's done, if I gotta pay some of it back, I don't care. So I think you have to make you know, look at it from the business decision, and I think what I'm telling clients is, I know in Oklahoma, if we had another shutdown, or if our shutdown was until May 1, not saying anything bad about Oklahoma, but they'd be back to work by the time they got their unemployment money. And now the employees are in a real spot. So you might consider whether or not, you know, are there some employees to keep on the payroll, some that you pay? So it's not necessarily just because the business closed and you have the shelter in place that you can't pay the employees, and the PPP is for that. So my gut on it is this. If you all are rocking and rolling and this is causing an interruption, and then once you get back up and running, you're rocking and rolling, I think you just use what you've got that's coming and pay the payroll that you've got available to you. It's in essence money that's been given to you to pay the employees whether they're working or not. So boy, I just talked a big circle on it just to say I think you just got to look closer at what's it going to be at the end of the 8 weeks. And would it be better for your employees to get money not going on unemployment? So most of my clients are not going the route of unemployment. Now, part of that's because Oklahoma is slow in getting anybody any benefits, number one. Number two, I think it's just more of a, you know, less interruption to the employees. The PPP money has been given to us as employers to pay those employees, even if they're not working. But again, it's just such a tough call, and it would be so nice if they would say it's not 8 weeks, it's 12, or it's not 8 weeks, it's till June 30. But until then, here's what I'd say. You got it for payroll, use it for the payroll. If you had something that you were gonna all be out till June, be different story. So if you decide to let everybody go on unemployment and they come back May 1, they're back on the payroll, I don't think you got issues either way, but it's not an average per week, it's not a head count per week, it's a head count at the end, and it's a totality of what's spent in that 8 weeks. So anyways, best of luck on that. It's tough decisions you're making there. A lot of emotions, I'm sure.
All right, our next question is from Carol My client called his bank today for help. What he got back was an email from his banker with info for PPP, much of the same you see through Cabbage, etc. What I'm questioning is they asked him to sign an acknowledgement and indemnification agreement. I've never seen this with any of my other loan appliers. Want to know what you think of this. Is it standard? Is it unusual? I read it over and there's a paragraph that says you can't hold us responsible to do anything with your application when we receive it if you don't get any funds. WTH.
Yeah, so my understanding with Cabbage is that it's a broker. So I think that that's why those documents are being asked to be signed, is that it's a brokerage situation. They're just kind of a middle person. You know, we've just had people comment about Cabbage and it being positive. I don't have any personal experience. I don't know anybody that's dealt with them, but I think that's probably why it's there. And then you're asking this on behalf of a client, so you know, I'm in the same position as you. Sometimes our clients ask us for opinions, and we just want to be helpful. So just one professional to another. If you're not quite sure on it, you might just say, gosh, I don't know. It doesn't seem like that would be something you would need to sign. Maybe you should just check with your attorney or have to make a final decision. Just from the standpoint, during these times, people's emotions are high. People are trying to get things done. And if you tell them it's okay to sign something when somehow it turns out later it messes them up financially, or you tell them don't do it and then it messes up financially. Point is that you kind of want to avoid litigated damages later. So I know I'm going some extreme, but just friendly, just like it's okay to just stay in your lane by just saying, well, you know, I've not seen that before. I'm not sure really what to tell you, because I've had to tell that to clients and just say, hey, you know, I appreciate that you're asking me, but it's not really anything I deal with. I haven't seen it before. And so since I haven't seen it before, I don't really know what to tell you. Maybe you should talk with your attorney or talk with your, you know, banker or something like that. So anyways.
All right, this is our last question of the night, and I want to thank you guys for your support. JJ has been live since 4 o'clock Central Time, which means that that's about, what, 5.5 hours that he's been giving himself to you guys completely for free, giving you a lot of good information. There
I love it.
373 people on and only 76 thumbs up. If you could please hit that thumbs up button, we would greatly appreciate it. And please make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. This is just a way that you can give back to JJ for all the information that he is giving to you. So our last question of the night is from Cindy, and she says, is a 501...
Thank you, Brian.
Is a 501c8 organization, a fraternal organization, eligible for the payroll protection program? Also, yes, buy his book.
Let's see, 501c8. I don't know. What I would do is, what does it say? 50c3 or
501c8.
What does it say after that?
Organization.
Oh, just organization.
Fraternal organization.
So I am going to JJ the CPA help.com. I'm going to be pulling up this PPP application. And hey, I saw all the people that are saying, thanks, you're the man, you rock. Thumbs up, I appreciate that. A little bit of a distance, but I can see them. But on my screen, they disintegrate before I can do much about it. Let's see, 501c19, 501c3. Yeah, I don't think that it does qualify.
That's the book.
I don't think that it does qualify. Just because it specifically says 501c3 and 501c19, Veterans Organization. This said fraternal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and if it has wages, it seems interesting that it wouldn't. If it has wages, you might talk to your bank and and see what they say, but I don't think that it does. But I'd hate to tell you no and then you don't do anything. So maybe check with your bank on that, because if something has wages, then it probably could count. So, well, hey, I hate to jump off. We're at 367 people. Boy, I'd love it if you'd subscribe. I'm trying to get to 17,000 for no other reason than I like numbers. And yes, we are saving the
They are
set.
saved. They are all in the
Thank you,
archive.
Patel.
You guys could go back and watch any
Yeah,
of these
thank
live
you,
videos.
Patel. Thank you. Yes. And Valerie, thank you so much. You bet. So yeah, if y'all can subscribe, if you can just take a minute, even if you have to log in, that would be great. And then, yes, only 99 likes. I love it, DC. You bet, Gonzalez, HFC Transport, you bet. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you guys being a part of it. And as
92 emails. That's how many emails you answered today.
wow,
92.
okay, wow. Well, Amanda did tell me, thank you, STS. Amanda did tell me that I did take 17 minutes to answer one of them.
Yes.
So, you know, I'm kind of my, hey, I appreciate that, DC. I definitely will. Let's see. How long will the PPP process takes? Whew. It's supposed to take like 3 days, and it's been taking longer than that. Thank you, Gene. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. HFC Transport, 3 days. I love it. All right. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in. Again, I'd love it if you'd subscribe. Look at this. We're at 405, 407. Gosh, are you sure we should get off? Maybe
Well,
we
you
could
can
go
stay
through
on, but
Orm.
I have to leave.
All right. Hey, I just want you to remember, for those CPAs that are on, Julio, Terry, and Tina, and Kenda, I appreciate you all. Love to send you one of these. And you all have a great night. We will come back tomorrow live. We will just be going live tomorrow for 1 hour. We'll be back 4 p.m. Central. And then on Wednesday, April 15th, we're going to have a happy hour that Amanda and I are inviting you to. There'll be no questions that we will talk about. We'll just chat and be able to. I usually don't get to see everything live, and we'll see if anybody shows up and wants to talk about their private parts, and try and get any, see if we're going to have any trolls come along. I'll be serving drinks. They're all on me. Yes, a not tax day party, no doubt. Thank you, Gene. And thank you, Patel, Deep Patel. Yes, thank you so much. So anyways, drinks are on me. All right, Gene, I love it. Got your address. I appreciate that. All right. Well, listen, you all have a great night. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. I don't need to have the subscribers. I'm not monetized, but it's just fun. And I do have an update on the stimulus. I put it in my JJ. I have a playlist called JJ Common Questions. So let's see. Yeah, with Steven. So Steven, just email him, jj@jjthecpahelp.com. We went through 99 emails. We get thousands of comments while we've gone live. So if you want to get in the chute, email jj@jjthecpahelp.com. It is where you can get your question in. So, all right. Let's see. Can you work as a CPA from remotely at home as a private contractor? Yes. Not me, though. All right. Hey, appreciate you all. Have a wonderful night. And thank you so much, Stephen. I really appreciate that. So send me an email, jj@jjthecpahelp.com. And in the regarding line, say, I've been on all night. So, Stephen, we can get your question answered tomorrow. So, all right. Thank you so much, y'all. Have a great night. Really, really appreciate you. JJ the CPA out.